Hello, my name is Nia, and I have grown up in Teaneck United Methodist Church. My church has been there for me through everything and has helped me more than they will ever know. At the age of 20, I came out as a lesbian woman. I came out to my church by coming to service with my partner, Ness White. I had mixed feelings to go along with the mixed reactions of my church family. Today, I'm going to share my story with you through my art form of dance. So one of the definitions of insanity is repeating the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. How are you going to expect young people to stay in the church or come to the church if you aren't willing to make changes, positive changes, more inclusive changes? Coming out isn't easy. I remember being in my room and praying to God to change me. I thought that me loving who I loved was wrong. And it's not. My name is Nia Shand. I'm a Christian. I'm Black. I'm a woman. And I'm also a lesbian. I've been with my girlfriend, Ness, for 3.5 years. And I'm human. My relationship is no different than a heterosexual one. We hold hands. We argue. We travel. I just wish that people would realize that. I wish that people would realize that I'm happy with who I am. And I'm not harming anybody. And Christianity is based off of love. So why can't we lead with that? Whether it's sexual orientation, or politics, or religion, race. We should always just lead with love first. How can you say that you love your brothers and sisters when if I walk into a church holding my girlfriend's hand, I know I'm going to be stared at, ridiculed, maybe even harassed in some situations. And the way I came out to my church was I walked in one Sunday morning holding my girlfriend's hand. I was surprised and saddened by the responses. I knew it was going to be a surprise for everybody because previously they've all seen me with a man. So no one at my church had any idea that I liked women. Granted, I kept that hidden through most of my life and tried to fit in with the norms of society. Some of my church members were super welcoming and loving, and others weren't so welcoming. Others stared at us, gave us dirty looks, looked us up and down, and made me feel like I didn't belong in my own church. I felt like they didn't see me for me anymore, which isn't true. Like, I haven't changed just because I'm with a woman. I'm still the same Nia that grew up in the church. The fact that some people that I looked up to, that I would consider family, treated me the way that I was treated was really hurtful. Over time, as my girlfriend and I continued to go to church together, and people got to actually know her, now it's completely different. And I'm super appreciative of that. And I wish that more churches were like that, because I know a lot of people from the LGBT community would love to worship God, would love to go to church, but they feel like they can't because they feel like they're going to be targeted, they're going to be harassed, they're going to be treated very badly. If we just keep repeating the same thing over and over and over and over again, what real change is going to be made? What kind of positive impact are we going to make on the world? How are we going to spread this love that Christianity is supposed to be spreading? How? With all the homophobia and the hate in the church, how can you say Christianity is based off of love? How can you say that you're a loving person when you're spewing hate towards other groups that don't fully agree with what you believe in? How can you say you love your brothers and sisters?
Welcome, and thank you for joining this vital convention hosted by General Commission on Religion and Race. My name is Nish Ant, and my partner, Ness White. I am eager to continue the conversation with you. Here are a few things that you need to know to participate. Questions or reflections can be posted at the bottom of this page. You can also tweet using the hashtag VitalConvo or post on GCORG's Facebook page. So let's get started. I've received a couple of questions that Beth is going to read to me, so we can start there.
Okay. First question, what are your thoughts about bridging the divide between congregants who are supportive and those who want to exclude LGBTQ persons?
I feel like that congregants who have excluded LGBTQ people, they have this preconceived notion of what an LGBTQ person is, and it's not normally a good notion. It kind of reminds me of when Ness and I came out to the church, my church in particular, and at first they had a really negative outlook towards us, and I think that's because of their preconceived notions of what a lesbian couple was and is. And then after they got to know us, then it was like, oh my gosh, they're just a normal couple, like any kind of heterosexual couple or anything like that. So I feel like just getting to know the person for who they are as a person would like bridge that gap between LGBTQ people and non-LGBTQ people in the church in particular. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I honestly I would say something very similar. It's not the same thing. I remember going to your church at first, and it felt, not from everybody, but there were people who it felt like they were kind of just like looking me up and down. They weren't really sure how they should receive me or even talk to me or treat me. But over time, we had conversations, they ask a question here, like, tell me about your family or something like that. And I was able to answer those questions, and then I'd ask them a question. And so the relationship started to kind of build that way. So I definitely think that when people see that you are a human being, then that just completely shifts their perspective on things. So I agree.
I agree with you too.
Okay. Oh, wow. Look, next question. Would you have come out differently at church had you known the hurt you would initially feel?
No, I don't think so. I actually originally wanted to come out to church using, performing a piece about it. I actually wanted to, dance about it at first.
That was really cool.
That was before I met you. Then I met you, and I was like, I'm just going to go to church and normally do and not do anything. And not that it would be extra, but I felt like it just wasn't needed, And as a person of color, I feel like, especially my skin tone and being a dark-skinned person of color, walking out of the house every day is already difficult as it is. So I felt like I'm used to receiving pain and hurt from other people just by the way I look. So with my sexual orientation, I was somewhat prepared for that. And I knew regardless of how I came out, it was going to hurt at first. So I don't feel that I would have came out any differently.
No. That's interesting about the piece, though. You wanting to come out with the piece. I didn't even realize that was something you wanted to do. So that's interesting. Talk more about that, like how long you were thinking about doing that.
I thought about it my sophomore year of college. Literally right before I met you, I was thinking about it. When that Macklemore song came out called
Yeah.
I actually wanted to dance to that song. That would have been nice. Yeah. So I thought about that. That's the way I'm really used to expressing myself, is non-verbally. So, and letting the music and my movement do the talking for me. So I felt like that would be a nice way. But I also have to overcome my fear of speaking, like what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, great time.
So I feel like coming out in that way, I feel like it was the right way for me to do that.
I think you did great. Thanks, coming out. And it was an honor to hold your hand and be there with you as you did it.
Thank you.
It was nerve-wracking.
Yes.
At the same time, I'm glad we did, because we've really, really, been embraced by our church family. And
definitely.
I wouldn't even have considered myself having a church family had it not been for your church. So.
And we got to even perform at our church for the cantata last year. So that was just amazing, being able to perform with you at our church and having everybody respond the way they did. And it was really incredible.
Yeah, there's so much love.
Because Nessa's a poet, by the way.
Yes,
Nessa's a poet.
Yeah.
And we have a company together. So we perform together. I dance and she does her poetry, and we share our stories through poetry and dance. So it was amazing to share that with our church family.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. And a third question that's been received. You were ready to move on, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think the barriers are to love?
Wow, that's a really good question.
That is a good question.
I feel like the barriers to love are just the mind. I feel like a lot of times, this might sound kind of harsh, but I feel like we don't think for ourselves. We kind of think on what is being reflected on the media or even by our parents or relatives or elders, what we see on the street. And because you ask a lot of people, like, oh, why don't they like LGBT people? Or why don't they like Black people? Why don't they like, women or anything like that? It's not really their own words they're speaking.
Yeah.
It's not really like an experience they've had. It's more about what they've heard or what they've seen on TV or these other things, and it's not really their own mind thinking. Because I always tell people, like, I wonder, like, if the media wasn't so harsh on certain people or gave this outlook on certain people, I wonder how many people would be happy.
Yeah.
Because I feel like because our mind is blocking all these things.
Yeah.
How many people would date outside of their race or outside of their own gender or things of this sort and actually find that true love, that true happiness, but they're allowing their mind to stop them from that.
Yeah.
And it's not, like I said, it's not even their own thoughts. It's someone else's thoughts they just brought into their own bodies and said, okay, those are my thoughts now. And it's like, not really. What do you actually feel about this? Because I feel like that's one of the reasons why I knew I was a lesbian was because I stopped thinking from this perspective of, oh, I grew up in the church, so I have to be a certain way, and if I'm not this way, I'm wrong. And I realized, I was like, well, no. Like, how do I actually feel? And when I am with you, I feel so happy, and I feel whole, and I feel like I am myself. And there's something wrong with that. And I know that God still loves me, regardless of anything, because I feel like, how could God say she doesn't love me? I'm happy. But I wasn't happy before. I wasn't genuinely happy within myself. And as soon as I came out, I found this genuine happiness that I've never experienced before. And I felt like I'm free now. I'm finally myself, and this is what God's love is all about, I feel like. You want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely went a lot of places, and I agree with you in terms of the mind sometimes being a barrier to love. Excuse me, when I think about, there's a quote, and I don't remember who said it or where I read it, it was like a while ago, but basically how thoughts create like, tension and blockages. But feeling or relaxing is like who you really are. No, thinking is who you, anyway, I'm going to mess it up. But basically, yeah, I feel like you're getting somewhere when you're talking about the mind being a barrier, and I think about thoughts sometimes. But love is a feeling, and really tapping into that feeling or your heart is a way to kind of break those barriers to love. So, yeah. So I'm wondering, like, how can we use the mind to do that for those of us who are heady, like myself?
We actually have another question that came in.
Okay, so the next question. What positive and inclusive changes do you think the church needs to make in order for it to live out the message of welcome and of love? That's a good question.
I think creating spaces for people who are considered to be different, people who are questioning things, people who are afraid. I feel like we just need to have this safe and open space where they can speak freely and feel like it's okay to question things. It's okay to question a scripture or the Bible or their pastor or, how things are run. It's okay to question things and having that safe space to speak openly about it and question it. Because I feel like a lot of times in the church, it's this way or no way, and that's that. It can't be questioned. It can't be any of that. If you disagree or question it, you need to leave. And I feel like that's how we can make a space more positive and inclusive if we hear everybody and genuinely listen to everyone. I feel like that's the biggest thing. It's a safe, like a genuinely safe space. Because you can say a place is a safe space, but if you disagree with certain things, you get pushed away. But I feel like that'll be really helpful, and I feel like that'll be really helpful for young people in particular. Because I know I still have a ton of questions. I know, like, but I even know older people who have a lot of questions that they can't question it.
Yeah.
And I feel like almost everybody's questioning things when it comes to religion, any religion. But a lot of people, including myself, have that fear sometimes of questioning things. Yeah. So I feel like we need to have that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I definitely think that safe spaces are necessary everywhere, but definitely in the church. I'm going to kind of reread it again just to, and I'm also thinking about how, what works for us, like what specific things happened for us to begin feeling included. And it was, for me, it was people, eye contact, looking at me like they actually cared that I was there. It was as simple as a handshake or a smile or just like a hug, something where it's like, think about like, wow, here's this person who feels like they're on the outside of something 90% of the time, walking through their day. Let me extend and open up, this place to them for a minute. Like that just means wonders.
Yeah, I wanted to bounce off of that. Basically, if a new person comes to the church, really welcoming them and talking to them, kind of that made me feel so good when I would see people go up to you and say hi and actually want to know you and get to know you. And when we're not together, like when people ask where you are, like that meant so much to me. And I know a lot of people, LGBTQ or not, when they come to the church and they're new, it's nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And having members go up to them and speak to them and actually genuinely care about who they are, and wanting to know them, it's a beautiful thing. I've known with the church a lot more positive. It doesn't have to be just like, I grew up here, this is my church, and you can't come here. It can be a thing of we're all here to worship. We're all here to love and grow. So let's all do that. And also not care about what people wear so much. I feel like sometimes in certain churches, like if someone walks in with jeans and a nice T-shirt, they're looked at a certain kind of way. I know so not all people can afford to like wear expensive, lavish church clothes. I definitely think going to church appropriately is the right thing to do. But sometimes people can't afford the super expensive dress or the the whole suit with the hat and all that kind of stuff. Not everybody can afford that. So I feel like people coming in and what they consider their Sunday best is what's important as well.
Yeah, and thinking about people kind of even outside of church on Sunday, taking the time to open up their minds and, brush up on issues that are happening in the LGBTQ community. That way, when somebody walks into your church who is from the community, you're able to communicate with them. And like if you see someone, like myself, like I'm a woman who wears a tie, you're not like, who's that? What are you doing? Like, because, not that people necessarily were homophobic. It's just, I wonder if maybe some people also, when they saw me for the first time, just like never seen something or didn't think they would. Yeah. And maybe they weren't intending to be rude or mean, but, you can tell by people's eye contact how they feel about you. Yeah. Or how they feel about what you're doing, what you're wearing. Even if it's something as simple as just being different to them. You feel all that. It's all energy and it's all emotion. And so just kind of checking in with yourself to see, like, okay, how am I, what energy am I giving this person who is here? That's also something that helps me.
Okay, we have another question. How do you see God using your gifts for and in the future of the United Methodist Church? For me, being a dancer, honestly, 99% of the time when I perform, I black out and I don't really know what's happening until after I'm done. And I feel like that is God using my body in a sense to share their story and to help people, because there have been plenty of times when I've been dancing, I definitely should have been injured, or like I should have hit someone or something, and that hasn't happened. And it's always something I feel like in my heart and my core, and when I perform, and I feel like I can use my movement and my story to help people in the church, help people understand people like me, people who are different in any way, shape, or form. Because like I said, for me, I don't always have the words. And so I need to move, and I need to express how I feel about God in particular through my body. And I feel like I also share his words in my body in a way that I couldn't just by speaking. And like I really do, I love dancing in church because there's something about it that is so freeing and so vulnerable and so honest that I feel like I'm preaching the gospel in my own way. And a way that can connect to people in a different type of way than that a pastor might be able to, or a deacon, or anything of that sort.
Yeah.
Do you wanna?
Yeah. I feel that one of the best performances that I think we ever did, that felt pretty much one of the best, was when we did it at church. There was something just about being in a room with people. Yeah, I don't know what it was. I can't necessarily even describe it. I'm supposed to have words, but like there was something about that room, those people, and it felt like nothing else did. So I definitely think I would like to perform more at churches, and I don't really know what to say.
No, that's fine. We can even go to the next other question.
Oh, yes. We should probably.
So, yeah, you're good, though.
Okay.
Yeah, you're fine. So, Ashley from Facebook Live, hi, Ashley, asked, after you came out, was there any effort in your congregation to learn more about the LGBTQ community? Is your current church a reconciling church? Ironically, after I came out, I've different members of the church have come to me and talked about LGBT issues, which has been nice, and has been aware of certain things, harassment that has happened to LGBT people, in particular in New York, because we are based in Brooklyn, New York. So hearing people talk about that kind of stuff that I never heard my church talk about before, ever, was so wonderful. Including with my pastor. Because it's just it's so nice to know that they care about me and another community that I consider myself to be part of. And they're concerned for my well-being and our well-being, because they know that coming out and being an openly lesbian couple, it can be a very dangerous thing in many situations. with the harassment, verbal and physical and mental harassment we deal with on the daily. The continuous stares, the shoves, the pushes, the comments, like, it's not easy. So know that our church family is aware of those issues and is open to wanting to be there for us and be a support system. Means a lot. And it's a really beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah. There was one woman who asked us if we were going to Pride.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was kind of cool because it was like, oh,
Yeah.
like, yeah, we are. Thanks. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining the conversation today. You can find resources on the website to support you in taking this conversation to your churches and your communities. Our task of building the beloved community is ongoing. The next Vital conversation will be held on June 13th with Brittany Jackson. She's wonderful. Jackson Brown, I'm sorry. On welcoming new people to church and asking, where are you from? For more information, please visit gcord.org. Thank you.